Good morning, 6th grade. We are going to the last topics in math class, but yet the most difficult ones. In order to understand it, you need to follow the set of steps given in the following slides. We're gonna start with adding fractions with integers. What better way of going over the rules with an example? The problem that we have there is negative 6/20 plus 3/5. The first thing that you have to do is identify the LCD between the two fractions. Okay, what does LCD mean and with what do you take it out? Well, the LCD is grabbing the denominators and trying to put them the same number on the bottom, and you're gonna do them with your multiples. Let's take the example of 5 and 20. Okay, number 5, you're gonna start multiplying 5 times 1, 5, 5 times 2, 10, 5 times 3, 15, and 5 times 4, 20. And for 20, 20 times 1, 20. The first number that you see the same between the two lists, that will be your LCD. After you identify your LCD and place them as your bottom numbers, you can see that in your fraction, your new denominators are the same. Well, you apply the equivalent fraction procedure. What does it mean? Any number that you multiply to the denominator, you use the same number to the numerator. The arrows indicate the first fraction and the second fraction. Okay, 20 times what gives me 20 times 1. So whatever I multiply on the denominator, I need to multiply it to the numerator too. And the second fraction, 5 times what gives me 20 times 4. The same thing. Whatever number I multiply to the denominator to make it 20, I have to multiply it to the numerator. If I change the denominator, I have to change the numerators too. So my new fractions will become negative 6/20 plus 12 over 20. After we did the fraction procedure of changing your denominators the same with LCD and the equivalent fraction procedure of changing your numerators, we need to apply the integer rules. In this example, we have a negative fraction and a positive fraction. And the rule says that if you have a negative and a positive, you need to subtract and keep the sign of the biggest value or the biggest number. Well, in this example, you have opposite signs, so you need to subtract. 12 minus 6 is 6, and the denominator stays the same. It doesn't change. Another thing, if you have to simplify the fraction, you will have to do it. On the right part of the slide is how do you simplify. Remember that you use your factors, and in this case, you're looking for the factors of 6 and 20, numbers that make up 6 and numbers that make up 20. Okay, you're gonna choose the number that is bigger between the two lists. Okay, let's go back to our problem. 6 over 20. You need to simplify by dividing the number by the same number. That means if I divide it by 2 on the numerator, I have to divide it by 2 on the denominator. And that will make my fraction smaller. So my answer will be positive 3/10 because 12 is positive and it's bigger than 6. Let's try another example. The problem is negative 1/6 plus negative 8/9. The first thing that you need to do is identify the LCD between 6 and 9. For example, 6 times 1, 6, 6 times 2, 12, 6 times 3, 18. And 9 times 1, 9, and 9 times 2, 18. Remember that the LCD will be the first number between the two lists that they have in common. If you see, your new denominators will be 18. After that, we have to apply step 2, that is the equivalent fraction procedure. Remember that if your denominator changes, your numerator also has to change. So, 6 times what gives me 18 times 3. Whatever number I multiply to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator. So, 3 times 1 equals 3. And then, you do the same thing to the other fraction. 9 times what gives me 18 times 2. So, whatever number you multiply to 9, you will have to do it to the numerator too. So, 8 times 2 equals 16. The third thing to do after we did our fraction procedure is identify the integer rule. In this case, both fractions are negative. So what happens? You add them up and you keep the same sign. All you have to do now is add the fractions. Because both fractions are negative, you're going to add them up and keep the same sign. Your answer is negative 19 over 18. But remember something. When we do fractions, you cannot leave a fraction as an improper. So you need to change it to mixed. On the right side of the slide, you have the procedure of how to change it. The numerator goes inside, the denominator goes outside. You make your division. Okay, which one will be the whole number, the numerator and the denominator? Your quotient will always be the whole number. Your remainder will be your numerator and your divisor will be your denominator. And you keep the negative sign because both of the fractions are negative. It's your turn to try it. You're going to add the fractions, negative 1/3 plus 3/8. You can pause the video so you can solve the problem. Did you get it correct? Your answer should be positive 124. Okay guys, I'll see you soon.